What if a simple fever could mean death or worse, demonic possession? In a world without doctors, every cough carried a curse. Flickering torchlight danced across a rattling wooden door, casting long shadows that whispered of unseen dangers. The sharp rasp of ragged breath cut through the silence, mingling with faint murmurs of prayers and herbs simmering nearby. This was a time when illness was as much a spiritual battle as a physical one, and the line between life and death was perilously thin. A heavy hand slammed a primitive latch shut, sealing a small cottage in darkness. Inside, a pale face pressed weakly against a straw mattress, eyes glazed and distant, consumed by fever and fear. The faint bubbling of herbal potions mixed with whispered prayers filled the cramped space. Isolation weighed heavily here, no doctors, no cures, only a fragile hope held fast by ritual and faith. Tonight, we uncover the shocking remedies, rituals, and risks of medieval medicine and why survival was never guaranteed. As the distant church bell tolls the midnight hour, a shadow moves silently through the village, embodying a world where every breath is a battle and every cure carries its own danger. Snowflakes drift softly outside a humble thatched hut as dusk settles over the village. Smoke curls lazily from the chimney, hinting at the warmth within. Inside, Edith the healer's lined face reflects years of steady hands and deep knowledge. She stirs a bubbling cauldron filled with boiling water and herbs, preparing remedies for those clinging to life in the harsh winter. The crackling fire mingles with the muffled howl of wind beyond the walls, setting a somber, tense mood. Leaning weakly against a rough-hewn wooden table, Thomas the miller appears gaunt and trembling. His pale face contorts with pain as his hand clutches his side, betraying the fierce fever consuming him. Edith crushes mugwort and yarrow between her fingers, murmuring a careful blend of Latin and Old English charms. The pungent scent of crushed herbs fills the air as she binds a poultice to Thomas's chest. Her movements, practiced and precise, his labored groans echo softly in the quiet room. Outside, Brother Anselm stands cloaked in shadow, his deep voice rising in a solemn requiem for the dying. His chant drifts on the icy air, a fragile spiritual shield against unseen forces threatening Thomas's life. The village holds its collective breath, faith mingling with fear, as the fever burns like a hidden dragon beneath linen wraps. Thomas's head falls back, sweat beading in vivid red upon his brow. Anselm's final, haunting amen fades into silence, leaving the scene suspended in uncertainty. The screen cuts to black, the weight of hope and dread hanging heavy in the frozen air. A sudden shift takes us from the dim, shadowed world of medieval illness to the bright, clinical environment of a modern hospital ward. Beeping monitors punctuate the sterile silence as white walls reflect the sharp glow of overhead lights. A patient grips an IV pole tightly, eyes flicking anxiously across a tablet screen displaying medical websites. Soft footsteps echo down the corridor, and distant voices mingle with the steady rhythm of machine symbols of precision and control unimaginable in earlier times. Here, survival is bolstered by technology, knowledge, and protocols that drastically reduce uncertainty. This scene starkly contrasts with the chaos and fear that once accompanied every fever and wound. Overlaying the screen, stark data graphics tell a grim tale from the 1300s. 80% of common infections were fatal. Average life expectancy hovered around just 35 years, with infant mortality rates reaching 30%. Antibiotics, the cornerstone of modern infection control, would not be discovered until the 20th century, leaving medieval sufferers vulnerable to illnesses now easily treated. These figures highlight medicine's slow, painstaking progress, reminding us how precarious life once was. The patient's worried expression fades between haunting black and white images of plague victims, crude herbal remedies, and desperate care rituals. We grapple with a world where half of all illnesses offered no cure, and where treatments themselves could prove deadly. This fragile balance between hope and despair shaped medieval medicine, casting shadows of uncertainty over every household. How did they survive such relentless threats, and what secrets lie hidden in their remedies and rituals? Medieval medicine was a harsh and complex battleground where faith, science, and danger intertwined. In an era before modern antibiotics or anesthesia, every treatment risked becoming a curse. Rooted deeply in herbal knowledge, divine intervention, and often brutal surgery, remedies teetered on the edge between salvation and suffering. This was a time when hope and desperation coexisted, and healing was as much an art of faith as it was of observation. No simple cures existed, only a tapestry woven from centuries of trial, error, and belief. From the bitter bitterness of wormwood to the soothing sweetness of honey, medieval healers drew from the natural world to craft potent remedies. These pharmacopoeias, handed down through generations, combined careful observation with mythic tradition. Some treatments proved effective, harnessing the medicinal properties of plants, while others carried hidden dangers. This blend of knowledge and superstition laid the foundation for Western herbal medicine, revealing a double-edged legacy of healing and harm. When herbs failed, faith took command. Prayer, the veneration of holy relics, and the performance of exorcisms formed the first line of defense against invisible demons thought to cause illness. For medieval people, disease was both a physical affliction and a spiritual trial. Treatments aimed to heal not only the body but also the soul, emphasizing the inseparability of religion and medicine. Spiritual care was a vital part of the healing process, reflecting the cultural beliefs of the time. In cases where herbal remedies and prayers were insufficient, surgery entered the grim scene. Instruments like bone saws cut without anesthesia, bloodletting was routine, and amputations were common, often life-saving despite their brutality. Communities isolated the sick to slow contagions spread, while caregivers often overlooked tended to the wounded with courage and compassion. Their resilience wove care into the darkest hours of suffering. Join historians, ethnobotanists, and infectious disease specialists as we explore this precarious world where healing mingled with hazard, and every breath carried the possibility of relief or the shadow of death. In a time before microscopes and sterile labs, medieval healers relied on centuries-old herbals, faith, and observation. An ancient leather-bound herbarium reveals pages inscribed with Latin names like Mugortha and Salox, keys to forgotten cures. Today, scientists in gleaming laboratories analyze DNA extracted from medieval plague pits, decoding the microscopic history trapped in time. This fusion of cutting-edge science and age-old manuscripts peels back layers of history, revealing how past societies battled disease with tools both material and spiritual. From alchemical recipes in fragile parchment to genomic traces in soil, we step into a world where science and superstition coexisted in the struggle for survival. Medieval medicine revolved around the belief that illness was caused by miasma, poisonous bad air that disrupted the delicate balance of the four humours: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. Health was harmony. Disease, imbalance. Hospitals and infirmaries were organized accordingly, separating patients into wards defined by elemental qualities such as hot and dry or cold and wet, tailoring treatments to restore equilibrium. The town itself, often shrouded in mist or smoke, was thought to be saturated with these harmful vapors. Physicians sought to cleanse both body and environment, shaping diagnoses and therapies through this elemental lens. Though primitive by modern standards, this framework dominated medical thinking for centuries and influenced every aspect of care. Hand-harvested yarrow was prized for its fever-reducing properties, while pungent garlic was valued for its antimicrobial effects. Willow bark, rich in salicin, served as a primitive aspirin, easing pain and inflammation. Medieval apothecaries combined these ingredients into vinegar-based tinctures, carefully distilled in clay alembics. These remedies balanced bitter and sweet, poison and cure, demanding skill and knowledge from healers. Passed down through generations, herbal pharmacopoeias wove observation with myth, sometimes proving effective, sometimes hazardous. The use of such plants reveals an early understanding of botanical medicine's potential, even if its limits were poorly understood. The potency of these natural substances provided both hope and danger in a fragile world. When herbs failed, spiritual remedies took precedence. Pilgrimages to shrines like that of St. Agnes promised divine protection from maladies such as pox. Holy water was sprinkled over the sick, crucifixes held above fevered brows, and masses were offered as essential components of healing. Monastic infirmaries became sacred spaces where prayer intertwined with the application of dressings and salves. Illness was seen not only as a physical ailment, but also a trial of the soul, a punishment or test sent by divine forces. These rituals infused medicine with profound cultural significance, making faith itself a cornerstone of treatment and comfort. Surgery in the medieval period was a brutal affair. Bloodletting, performed with lancets and leeches, aimed to rebalance humours by draining excess blood. Amputations were carried out in the field with little more than alcohol or opiates for pain relief. Trepanation, drilling holes in skulls to release evil spirits, left evidence of survival in healed bone around such wounds, attesting to unexpected resilience. While crude and dangerous by modern standards, some patients lived to tell of these interventions. Surgery was both a desperate last resort and a practiced craft, performed amid superstition and limited understanding. The Black Death decimated up to 60% of Europe's population between 1347 and 1349. To combat contagion, quarantine stations were established on isolated islands. Cities enacted ordinances requiring incense burning and public prayers to cleanse the air of devils. Florence's defuncti registers meticulously recorded mortality rates, offering chilling insight into the plague's relentless spread. These early public health measures, though rudimentary, reflected attempts to control epidemics with the knowledge available. They laid groundwork for future responses to disease outbreaks, showing how communities mobilized faith, ritual, and regulation to confront invisible threats. Medical historians reveal that medieval pharmacopoeias were surprisingly rich in herbal wisdom, yet inseparable from faith. Infectious disease experts trace ancient plague genomes, exposing humanity's desperate, ongoing battle against microbial foes. Ethnobotanists decode centuries-old manuscripts, while epidemiologists analyzed DNA, together illuminating how belief and observation shaped healing practices. Their work highlights a precarious balance: medical knowledge limited by culture, but propelled by human resilience. This multidisciplinary approach connects past struggles with present understanding, reminding us that medicine's evolution is a story of hope, fear, and survival. Medicine in the Middle Ages stood on three pillars: nature's remedies, divine intervention, and surgical action. A healer's mortar grinds herbs, a surgeon's saw drips with the harsh reality of treatment. A monk clutches rosary beads in silent prayer. Within this fragile triad, every remedy was a gamble, teetering between healing and harm, life and death. The medieval world's attempts to cure reveal not only the limits of science, but the depths of human determination. This intertwined legacy continues to inform how we understand medicine, healing, and faith today. Dawn breaks over a village of Waterlandorp cottages, smoke drifting lazily from chimneys into a pale sky. Villagers stir from restless sleep, their movements slow and deliberate, weighed by the invisible presence of sickness. The air holds a chill that seeps into bones, and hope clings to the fragile warmth of hearth fires. In this humble medieval community, survival depends not only on strength but on the skill of healers, the comfort of prayers, and the fragile hope carried on the breath of morning. As light spreads, the village awakens to a day marked by the rhythms of illness and Kara. Day where every moment counts in the fight against unseen foes. Edith moves quietly through dew-soaked meadows, gathering comfrey leaves and yarrow flowers under the pale morning light. Her hands crush the herbs with practiced skill, mixing them with wine to create soothing poultices. These remedies blend careful observation with ancient ritual, knowledge passed through generations of healers. She visits Mary, the baker's daughter, whose skin burns with fever. Edith applies the warm, fragrant poultices gently to Mary's chest, her touch offering both medicine and comfort. In a world without modern science, Edith's folk wisdom is a fragile lifeline, balancing on the edge between healing and harm. The scent of crushed herbs fills the cottage, a tangible reminder that nature is both ally and mystery. Within the stone walls of the monastery, Brother Anselm tends the infirmary with a quiet devotion. He layers fresh straw on simple beds, preparing a space to isolate the sick from the healthy. His voice rises in soft chant, prayers weaving a sacred balm over fevered flesh and restless minds. As he carries Mary's bedding to the ward, the solemnity of quarantine underscores the harsh realities of contagion. Yet the prayers and rituals offer hope beyond the physical, binding body and soul in the struggle to survive. In this place, healing is both a practical act and a spiritual journey, where faith and care intertwine in the face of relentless illness. Sir Roland, a nobleman struck by crippling gout, limps toward a bloodletting table, his face etched with pain. A barber surgeon prepares to open his veins, seeking to restore balance to his troubled humors. Crushed grapes and elderflower poultices are applied ceremoniously to soothe his inflamed joints, remedies as much steeped in superstition as in medicine. Despite his wealth, Roland's suffering is no less real. Surrounded by luxury, he faces the same fears of decline and death as his village counterparts. His privileged access to surgeons and rare herbs offers some relief. Yet the agony of his condition remains a private, haunting burden. As the sun rises higher, villagers gather at the chapel. The tolling bell summons them for Massa, communal act of faith and healing. Prayers rise, seeking divine mercy for the sick and protection for the healthy. The chapel fills with whispered hopes and shared fears, a moment where community and spirituality unite. This ritual punctuates the day, providing solace and a sense of order amid uncertainty. In the echoes of ancient hymns, the village finds strength, a fragile shield against the unseen forces threatening its survival. At the bustling village market, Edith prepares a clove and honey decoction to soothe persistent coughs. She moves door to door, offering remedies and exchanging stories with neighbors. Medicine flows through the crowd as social currency, alongside barter and gossip. Villagers share advice, passing down knowledge and caution. Edith's presence is both healer and trusted confidant, her cures embodying a blend of science, tradition, and hope. The market pulses with life, the hum of commerce mingling with the quiet urgency of health. A farmer arrives, clutching a spear wound, his face pale with shock. The village surgeon readies rudimentary tool saws, clamps, and blades prepared to set broken bones and clean wounds without anesthesia. The air thickens with tension as the surgeon works swiftly. Mead-soaked flax is applied to staunch infection and ease pain. Every incision is agony, every movement a desperate gamble. In this grim theater, hope and fear are intertwined. Survival depends on the surgeon's steady hands and the patient's endurance, as life hangs precariously in balance. Night descends on the infirmary. Flickering rushlights cast long shadows over fevered faces tossing on rush mats. Brother Anselm moves quietly between beds, chanting softly and sprinkling holy water. His presence offers more than ritual. It is a balm for body and soul, a fragile defense against encroaching death. The sacred murmurs mingle with labored breathing, knitting the community's faith into the fabric of care. As darkness deepens, prayer becomes both comfort and resistance. Mary's fever spikes sharply. Edith presses a bladder of cold water to her burning forehead, seeking to cool the relentless heat. Nearby, Sir Roland's wound festers, his pain deepening as infection takes hold. He is moved to a fever bed, his noble suffering mirrored in the low moans around him. Brother Anselm keeps vigil, counting beads in the dimness, bearing the weight of hope and despair through the long night. In these hours, life and death hover dangerously close, their boundary blurred by the fragile strength of care. Steam curls upward from bowls of thick broth, mingling with the sharp tanks of blood that hangs in the cold air. The clink of pewter cups on rough wooden boards punctuates quiet conversations. Outside, the wind howls, carrying the scent of wood smoke and damp earth. Within this confined space, the senses sharpen each sound, smell, and touch, amplified in the fragile tension of illness and healing. Life pulses, fragile and fierce, threading through the darkness with a fragile hope. As dawn breaks over the infirmary, some patients stir with renewed strength, while others lie still, carried away beneath white shrouds. Edith and Anselm exchange solemn glances, silent witnesses to the fragile balance between survival and loss. Their weary faces reflect the unending struggle of medieval medicine, where faith, care, and courage intersect amid uncertainty. In this moment, the cycle of life and death continues, a poignant reminder of the human will to endure against the odds. Under the gentle canopy of a blooming hawthorn tree, villagers gather in a tight circle. Sunlight filters through the leaves as weathered hands carefully harvest herbs, mugwort, yarrow, and rosemary, each plant steeped in centuries of healing lore. This is more than gathering medicine. It is a communal act of faith, a ritual woven deeply into the fabric of village life. For medieval people, the boundary between body and spirit was porous, and healing was never solely physical. Beneath the hawthorn's shade, nature and belief intertwined, setting the stage for a world where cure and comfort are inseparable. Smoke curls from bundles of juniper and rosemary, carried by villagers who waft it around doorways and hearths, believing its scent purifies more than air. It cleanses unseen miasmas that bring sickness. On sacred feast days, communities bathe together in hot springs, the heat and holy water washing away both physical and spiritual impurities. These acts of purification were essential, blending tangible cleansing with faith. The rituals renewed body and soul, creating a shared sense of renewal and protection. In this overlap of nature and belief, The medieval mind sought harmony amid the threats of disease and despair. Long dusty trails lead pilgrims toward sacred wells and springs, places revered as channels of divine healing. Like the famous Lourdes centuries later, these holy waters offered hope beyond the village's limits. At shrine marketplaces, vendors sold blessed lint and broths infused with relics, fragments of saints believed to carry miraculous power. Pilgrimage was both spiritual journey and bustling commerce, where faith fueled a delicate economy of healing. Touch and prayer, relic and water, mingled in a vibrant exchange of hope, belief, and human need. Poppies, with their bright petals, were more than flowers, they were symbolic tools in the fight against pain. Their likeness used to create puppet dolls standing in for sick limbs, believed to draw illness away. Amulets, such as a sprig of St. Christopher's herb, were sewn into children's chemises, serving as talismans against fever and harm. These charms offered tangible comfort, acting as physical anchors in an uncertain world where illness was invisible and threats were many. The blending of magic and medicine gave sufferers a sense of control and protection. On the village outskirts, pest houses stood as grim reminders of contagion and compassion entwined. These quarantine shelters protected the healthy by isolating the sick, yet carried the heavy weight of exile. Despite fear, care persisted. Mary's mother brought firewood and broth to Anselm's ward, bridging distance with kindness. Villagers exchanged wary conversations from afar, maintaining fragile social bonds. This delicate balance of care and caution formed a survival strategy, unspoken, social contract, forged in the crucible of crisis and community. Dr. Helena Ward explains that participation in healing rituals lowered anxiety and nurtured hope, transforming communal acts into powerful therapeutic experiences. The social dimension of healing was as vital as any medicine. Ethnobotanist Dr. Lars Sturgard points to how herbal remedies and magical practices co-evolved, blurring boundaries between science and faith. Their insights reveal a medieval world where observation and belief combined seamlessly to tend the sick, illustrating that healing was as much about human connection and meaning as about physical cure. As dusk falls, the village gathers again beneath glowing lanterns, hands clasped in prayer, a mother soothing her child's fears. Healing here transcends flesh and bone. It reaches into belief, fear, and the shared hope that binds a community. In medieval Europe, tending the soul was as crucial as tending the body, crafting invisible threads of resilience that held people together in a world shadowed by death. These rituals offered sanctuary, a shared language of hope that transcended suffering and connected hearts across generations. Rows of dusty glass jars line a wooden apothecary shelf, each labeled in faded Latin, herba alchemica, cortex salicit. A mortar and pestle grind dried herbs, while an alembic gently bubbles over a small fire, distilling concentrated herbal essences. In these shadowed corners of medieval life, healers worked at the crossroads of nature and ritual, crafting remedies from the world around them. Behind layers of superstition, experimentation and observation flourished, forming the foundation of a protopharmacy. This delicate balance of science and belief shaped the medicines of the time, setting the stage for survival in an age before germ theory and antibiotics. In a stone-walled quarantine yard, guards armed with halberds paced steadily, watching over the sick confined within. Nearby, attendants scrubbed the thick walls with vinegar and lime washes, liquids prized for their natural antiseptic properties. Though medieval people did not understand germs, their efforts to cleanse spaces and separate the ill from the healthy were early, pragmatic steps toward infection control. Vinegar and lime targeted the miasma the bad air believed to spread disease while quarantine yards. Limited contagion through enforced isolation. These measures, rooted in observation and necessity, reduced transmission even as their scientific basis remained unknown. This fusion of belief and practical care formed a vital bulwark against invisible, deadly threats. Golden jars of honey catch the light, its sticky richness the core ingredient in many wound treatments. Much like modern Manuka honey, it provided antibacterial effects, soothing infections and accelerating healing. Mixed with mead, it became a potent antiseptic bomb, carefully applied to wounds before wrapping with linen bandages. Salves made from poppy seed oil offered anti-inflammatory benefits, easing pain and swelling. These remedies represented the backbone of medieval first aid where folk wisdom met empirical results. They were as much a balm for the spirit as for the flesh, bridging the gap between superstition and real therapeutic value in an age when options were few. In dim chambers, alembics bubble as heated vapors condense into concentrated tinctures, amplifying the power of healing herbs. Across the Mediterranean, Arabic scholars had developed sophisticated distillation and opiate extraction techniques, knowledge that traveled northward through trade and scholarship hubs like Toledo. Monks painstakingly copied botanical manuscripts, preserving and transmitting these innovations. This blending of cultural knowledge seeded early pharmaceutical science in medieval Europe. The work of apothecaries, part alchemist, part herbalist, was foundational, shaping a system of medicine that combined ancient lore with emerging empirical methods long before modern chemistry arose. Bloodletting was not random but a highly ritualized practice, guided by detailed astrological charts linking body parts and humors to celestial signs. Barber surgeons selected lancets of varying sizes and shapes to open veins at prescribed times, aiming to rebalance the body's humors. Leeches, carefully farmed in monastery ponds, were an early form of biotechnology. Their natural blood-draining ability harnessed to remove excess bad blood. This convergence of celestial belief and practical biology exemplified medieval medicine's dual nature, ritual and observation, faith and function interwoven to maintain fragile health. Modern pharmacologist Dr. Ingrid Falk conducts screenings of plant extracts, confirming that many medieval recipes contain genuine bioactive compounds, antiseptics and anti-inflammatories rediscovered through modern science. Meanwhile, historian Professor Marcus Reed analyzes plague edicts, revealing surprisingly detailed public health policies, quarantine protocols, data collection on mortality, and coordinated responses that anticipated modern epidemiology. Together, their work shows medieval medicine was neither blind superstition nor purely archaic, but a complex system where empirical knowledge and belief coexisted in the desperate struggle against disease. An animated flowchart traces an herb's journey, harvested from wild fields, ground in a mortar, distilled in an alembic, stored in a glass jar, then applied to a patient's wound. The scene shifts to a modern lab where scientists analyze these same compounds, bridging centuries. This living cycle of nature, ritual, and observation illustrates that what once seemed mere superstition contains the roots of modern medicine. Even in darkness and fear, human ingenuity sought light-finding methods of survival that resonate to this day. In a modern ICU, ventilators hum steadily as nurses clad in full PPE administer care. Digital monitors flicker with vital signs, displaying the fragile pulse of life. Amidst the sterile, high-tech environment, the challenges of COVID-19, antibiotic resistance, and healthcare inequalities unfold. Though separated by centuries, These battles against unseen enemies echo the medieval struggles against plague and primitive medicine. Both eras reveal shared human experiences: fear, hope, and resilience, connecting us across time in the ongoing fight to protect life. Venice's 14th century lazaretic quarantine stations, fenced off to contain plague victims, were among the earliest large-scale public health efforts. Yellow flags marked contagion zones, enforcing isolation with strict vigilance. Fast forward to today, where city streets lie empty under lockdowns, and citizens wear masks mandated to slow viral spread. Though science and technology have advanced, the fundamental tension between individual freedom and communal safety remains. These centuries-old containment strategies laid the groundwork for modern epidemic control, reminding us that managing public health crises relies not only on medicine but on social cooperation and sacrifice. Many medieval remedies, dismissed as superstition, hold potent scientific value. Willow bark, used for centuries to relieve pain and fever, led to the discovery of aspirin's active ingredient. Foxglove, once a toxic folk remedy, inspired the heart medicine digitalis. Today, pharmacists extract phytochemicals with precision, while community herb gardens revive the tradition of physic gardens, blending age-old wisdom with modern pharmacology. This continuity shows that ancient botanical knowledge still informs contemporary medicine, reminding us that nature's pharmacy remains vital in the search for healing. In medieval infirmaries, spiritual care was inseparable from physical treatment. Chaplains offered prayers and comfort alongside herbal remedies, addressing body and soul. Today, hospital chaplaincy programs and integrative therapies echo this holistic model. Mental health rituals have evolved from group prayer to counseling and support groups, providing emotional sustenance during illness. This enduring blend of faith and medicine acknowledges that healing transcends biology, recognizing the importance of psychological and spiritual well-being in recovery. Bloodletting, a medieval practice applied widely and often indiscriminately, parallels today's overuse of antibiotics, which fuels the rise of resistant superbugs. Yet, some ancient treatments have modern relevance. Honey-based wound dressings now enjoy scientific validation for their antimicrobial properties. These lessons from history highlight the dangers of excessive intervention and the need for targeted, precise therapies. Understanding this balance is crucial as medicine confronts new microbial threats, urging caution and respect for the limits of intervention. Dr. Emma Clark, a public health expert, emphasizes that medicine is as much social science as biology. Trust, community compliance, and cultural rituals shape health outcomes. Epidemiologist Dr. Navin Patel highlights the power of ritual in fostering adherence, noting that communal meaning and connection underpin effective responses. Together, their insights reveal that medieval experiences of plague and healing provide enduring lessons in humility and social cohesion. Crucial for navigating today's complex medical challenges, medieval cures were crude but born of necessity, care, and communal effort. Their spirit of ingenuity and humility before nature's mysteries still resonates. From herb gardens of old to modern urban green spaces, from prayer circles to hospital wards, this legacy invites us to embrace resilience and compassion. In learning from the past, we can build a future where medicine honors both science and the human experience, fostering hope in the face of uncertainty. Return to Edith's cottage at dawn. Morning light filters softly through frost-kissed branches as smoke curls gently from the chimney of Edith's humble cottage. Beside the worn doorstep, a single yarrow bloom sways in the quiet breeze, its delicate petals a silent witness to centuries of healing practice. This peaceful scene holds the echoes of countless remedies crafted with carobs gathered, prayers whispered, hope carried on the wind. Here, the enduring heart of healing beats quietly, rooted in the earth and time. Mary's cheeks glow with renewed health as she carefully gathers herbs alongside Edith, their fingers brushing through sage, lavender, and mugwort plants once used to ease her fevered nights. Nearby, in a starkly different setting, a modern patient steps out of the ICU, sunlight warming their face as they take a steady breath of freedom. Across the divide of centuries, healing continues, a tapestry woven from ancient knowledge and modern science, both nurturing life and weaving connection between past and present. Rows of herbal poultices dry on wooden racks, their textures familiar beside the gleam of stainless steel surgical tools and the worn mortar and pestle of old apothecaries. Every illness in history told a complex story, woven from the threads of body and belief, of medicine and myth. Each recovery was more than physical. It was a triumph of courage, compassion, and hope. Though distant, the medieval world's lessons pulsed beneath today's healing practices, inviting each of us to carry forward wisdom on our own path toward wholeness. Hands exchange dried herbs, passing knowledge as a community gathers around a fire, sharing stories. Whether whispered recipes passed through generations or breakthroughs forged in laboratories, healing is a collective journey. Sharing these stories and cures sustains the timeless quest. Compassion remains the truest medicine, inheritance, and a gift to be passed on with every hand extended. Every voice raised in hope, a steaming chalice of herbal tea glows warmly in the gentle morning light. Silently, a raven alights on the cottage eave, its dark silhouette framed against the awakening sky. In this moment, the ancient and modern met a quiet bridge across time. Healing is a journey without end. May we walk it together, carrying forward the light of care and connection with each new dawn.